Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to be going over support and resistance. So whether you have questions about how do I know this zone is valid, is price going to hold or break, why am I choosing this zone over this zone, if you have any of those questions and just questions about zones in general, keep on watching because I'm definitely going to answer it and keep it super simple, of course. So with that being said, let's get straight into this video. So support and resistance can actually be pretty powerful when you pair it with other confluences. And when I say the word confluences, it's just another term to say confirmations to get into the market. When you think about support, I want you guys to think about a floor. So if you were in your house, you have a floor, you stand on your floor, and that is supporting you. And that's how you can remember it's support, okay? This is where buyers get into the market. And when you think about resistance, I want you guys to think about your ceiling, okay? So up above you. So if you look up, you have your ceiling, okay? And this is where sellers get into the market. This is where they want to sell. And this is actually where the saying, buy low and sell high comes from. I want to write that down because I just want you guys to remember, buy low, sell high. That being said, if I wanted to buy low, it would make sense to buy at a floor rather than a ceiling because the floor is lower than the ceiling, right? We want to sell at a higher point in the market rather than selling at a lower point so we can make the most amount of money, okay? It's all about the money, guys. No, I'm just joking, but not really. But again, resistance, I want you guys to think ceiling. I want you guys to think sells, okay? Support, I want you guys to think floor, and I want you to think buys, okay? So buy low, sell high. Something that you might hear me say a lot going forward in my videos is I'm going to sell at resistance until given buy confirmations. And the only reason why I like to say this saying is because I know that my zones that I draw, my resistance zones that I draw, most likely price is going to retrace and sell from that zone. It might not be a hard sell, it might not be a huge sell, but it will most likely do some type of sell move if price doesn't break out of the zone. And that being said, I say until given buy confirmations because when I see price failing to break low points, I know that buy strength is not over. So that means those buy confirmations are slowly coming into my head. So if you ever hear me say that, that's kind of how I think about it, and that's kind of how I go about it. When we start to put candles on here and when you guys start to see candles, you're going to see multiple touches on these levels, okay? So you're going to see, like, let's just say this is a candle and there's no wicks on these candles, but I still want you guys to understand what I'm trying to draw right now, okay? So when you are at support zone, you are going to see a bunch of candles on your zone. You know a zone is pretty strong if price has tapped into this level multiple times, okay? If price has tapped into a zone multiple times, it is usually strong. And when we talk about higher time frame support and resistance versus lower time frame support and resistance, this will make more sense, okay? So multiple touches equals more confirmation that that level is strong, okay? And the same thing if I was going to draw candles above here, okay? So if I was to be like, okay, here, boom, boom. I always say that, guys. I don't know why I always say boom, but it just gets me in that, you know. Okay, so these candles aren't pretty, but again, multiple touches at a level is indicating that that zone is strong, okay? So I'm gonna erase this and I just want to show you guys something because a lot of you guys might get confused about, okay, can a support turn into a resistance, vice versa? And the answer is yes, okay? So let's just say you guys have a support zone here, okay? You have your resistance zone. Let's just say it's this close. Usually, for this example, it's just gonna be really close, only so I can draw more zones, okay? And then we have, let's just say, a zone above it, okay? Because there's been some type of reactions, multiple reactions above this level as well. That being said, support and resistance levels can change. We started at a support level here, and I told you guys support is going to be the lowest point. So because the floor in your house is the lowest point, it's lower than your ceiling, that means that is a support. Once price breaks through a resistance zone, it will then become a support zone. And I want to write that down because it is so important when we move on. Once price breaks a resistance zone, that zone will then become a support. Okay? For example, let's just say this line here that I'm about to draw is going to be my candlesticks, guys. Okay? So let's just say price is doing this. It does this, 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 this. Okay, maybe it comes a little bit down here. Okay? It's just playing around price. Then finally, it approaches this resistance level. And when it approaches this resistance level, it breaks. Once it breaks a resistance zone, I just told you guys, that resistance will become support. That being said, this level down here is no longer resistance, it is a support. Because what did I also tell you guys? Support is always lower than resistance. It is a floor. Resistance is a ceiling. It has to be lower. That being said, this has to be support because this is a resistance level and resistance is higher. As far as support, when price breaks a support zone, that zone will then become a resistance zone. And I want to show you guys that example. So let's just say we are here, okay? So let's just say we're here, okay? We're at a level of resistance. We know this is a support because I told you guys support is floor and it's always lower than the resistance level because the floor is lower than your ceiling, okay? That being said, once we break the support, guys, this is going to become a resistance because in order for the support to be lower than the resistance, this has to be your new support and this has to be your new resistance. That being said, okay, we break this level, okay? We break this level. Since we broke this support level, what is this now, guys? It's a resistance level because this level has to be support. It has to, okay? Tap into this level, it's now resistance, okay? We're approaching another support zone, okay? Let's just say we react, okay? We're just reacting, and then we finally break the support zone, okay? What is it now? Resistance, okay? And then we continue whatever price wants to do, and that is it, okay? So, to recap, when price breaks support, it will become a resistance level. Every single time. Breaks the support, this is going to be a resistance level. Breaks this support, this is going to be a resistance level. And then when I told you guys for resistance, once price breaks a resistance level, it will then become a support. The reason why we say this is because let's just say, again, just to recap, we were here. This is a resistance, we break it. This has to be support because this is your new resistance. Okay, we come to this resistance level again. We break it, okay? This is now your support. And it's just the exact same thing if price ends up, pushing up higher, okay? Before I show you guys me drawing zones, I want to make sure everyone understands the difference between strong and weak candles, okay? These large candles are usually going to be strong. When you see these type of candles approaching your zone, you want to be extra cautious because price could literally just fly through it. You don't know. So you want to wait for some type of reaction, whether that's waiting for another candle, whether that's waiting for some type of confluence. Again, that's another way of saying a confirmation. Just make sure you're paying attention to these candles when they come to your zone, just to make sure it doesn't break or fly past it. As far as medium candles, I actually like them when they approach my zone because realistically, let's just say this was a resistance zone and I see this medium candle approaching my zone. Because it's not as strong as like this large candle, it can kind of help me kind of indicate if price is like exhausting here to then sell down. So with medium candles, again, you want to just, for extra confirmation, you can wait for another candle, you can wait for extra confluences, whatever you prefer, but just pay attention to them. And as far as small candles, these are going to be your most indecisive candles, okay? That being said, if I got this type of candle at a resistance zone, to me, and price was in a bullish trend, came to this resistance zone, to me it's kind of showing me, okay, bulls are in control, but it might be dying down, indicating that sell pressure or sellers might then be in control later, okay? But regardless of what type of candle approaches your zone, just always be cautious because they can really tell you a lot, okay? Okay, so now you guys understand the different types of candles that can approach your zone. They might not look exactly like that, but I wanted to just make sure you guys understood large, medium, and small, because those are usually what's going to happen at your zone, usually, okay? You guys now understand that support can become resistance and vice versa. Now it all comes down to drawing your zones, and they're not even that hard. We're using the same things that I taught you guys in the beginning to do it on this time frame right now. So we're going to start with major zones. Major zones are going to be your higher time frame zones. You can think about it. You can think about it as like the weekly, the daily, and the 4 hour. I love to use the 4 hour, okay? So that's usually the time frame that I draw my major zones on. You can choose whichever one best fits you, okay? That being said, let's look at this example. We're on the 4 hour time frame, okay? Okay, we have discussed that support is usually a floor, and that means what does it have to be? It has to be a low point. That being said, what am I going to do? I am going to draw this little dot here so you guys can all see it, right? Beautiful. We have a low point near what? Current price. Current price is this dotted line. I love to draw my zones near current price because it will minimize the noise on the lower time frame, which is so important. So this is a low point, so we can consider it what? A support, okay? But we want to make sure that it's actually valid. So what are we going to do to make sure a zone is valid? We are going to just drag it. So let's just say we drew it here, okay? We found a support because it's a low point, because it's a floor. Floor is always lower. We're going to just drag it, okay? We're going to look left and we're going to drag it. We're going to see if multiple touches occurred at this level. And what do we see? Multiple reactions occurred at this level. And because multiple reactions occurred at this level, guys, we can now say this level is valid, okay? That being said, we can then find a resistance level. Your resistance level are usually going to be high points because it's a ceiling. It has to be a high level. It has to be above, okay? So if I was going to grab my dot, oh, I don't think I have my, oh, there we go. I'm going to draw my dot here. Okay, we're gonna mark it first, and then we're just gonna drag it over to see if it's valid. And it is. We see a touch here, we see a touch here, we see a touch here. And because we see multiple touches at this level, it is a valid resistance zone, okay? So we can keep on drawing more just so you guys can get the hang of it. So we can even draw this level here, and another support zone here. Beautiful. Okay, let's see if it's valid. Again, dragging it over just to see. Okay, we've established that that is valid. Why? Because multiple reactions have occurred at that zone. And one thing I want you guys to not do, guys, is do not marry your zones. Like, I know so many people draw their zones a little bit different. They might do it from the end of the body to the wick. However you want to go about it, you choose what you like to do. I hate my zones being really thick. Like, I absolutely hate it, because once I get onto the lower time frame, if it's too thick for me, it gets a little confusing. So what I like to do is I will draw them just to get as much touches as I can. So realistically, let's just say I saw this wick here, right? What I'll do, instead of boxing this whole wick as a support zone, even though it is considered a support zone, I will focus on the end of the body. So again, if we're, just to make sure you guys understand this, okay, we have a candle body. So body is always going to be this thick stuff, okay? This in this case, this is my black area, right? Our wicks are going to be these lines, okay? I just want you guys to understand that, okay? That being said, I will draw it at the end of the body. So here to a wick, not a long wick, any wick that is somewhat short, okay? Because what I will also do is I will take my horizontal ray and I will just mark the wick, the large wick, with a line. And the reason why I do this is because not only will allow me to not have a thick zone, but it will also allow me to pay attention to that zone, knowing that price could potentially come to this level. Because all in all, it's literally just it's just me, an extended version of my support, but more prettier, more prettier and more clean, okay? So you guys will see this on my chart often. You see these rays on wicks usually because because it just helps me, you know, it helps me look at areas below the support zone without actually considering or drawing my support zone this big. Okay, that being said, let's continue finding more levels. Okay guys, so we have a lows, again, resistance is high points, so let's find another high point. Okay, we find another one. Beautiful. We're gonna mark it here. That being said, we want to make sure it's valid. Okay, so what are we gonna do? We're gonna draw our rectangle box, and you guys, like I said, you don't have to be totally specific. Okay, so however you want to draw it, as long as the zone is somewhat covered, you're fine. I'll just use my ray, my horizontal line at the longest wick that I see, which is this here, and I'll just mark it here and then readjust my level here to just have a zone. Because at the end of the day, as long as you account for price potentially going higher, you are fine, guys. You are fine. So we have a good amount of zones here. You don't necessarily need all this many zones, but it does help just to practice if you guys are unfamiliar with this. Okay, that being said, remember I told you guys that support can become resistance and vice versa. Now we can actually really see this. Okay, we see the support zone was created. We validated it by looking left, multiple touches. Beautiful. Okay, we then came to this resistance zone. We know it's a resistance zone because it's always above. It's a ceiling. It has to be higher, right? This is a resistance zone. Once we broke it, like I told you guys, it will then become what? It will then become a support zone. And you see how it became a support zone beautifully? And we can validate this because remember I told you guys in the beginning, this is where people like to look for buys. And look what happened. Price bought. Beautiful. Okay, we're now approaching this resistance zone. Okay, if we break this resistance zone, what's gonna happen is this will then become a support zone. So just to show you guys, so you guys can see a bit better, we break this level, boom, it will become a support and tap into this level. So it's literally what I showed you guys in the beginning, but it's just more clear and with the candles. Okay, now you guys understand how to draw zones on the 4-hour time frame or the higher time frame and making sure they are truly valid. You don't always have to extend it all the way here, but if you are new and you're not used to drawing them, I highly recommend it. And I also highly recommend using the line chart. The line chart is amazing if you can't really see the zones clearly. It can help kind of really make it more clear, as you can see. Okay, also I just wanted to remind you guys again, how you draw your zones and how thick you like it is literally up to you. As long as you can mark it and validate that it's truly valid, you are fine. For example, here you can mark it from like the end of the body here, so I'm looking kind of here, so end of the body here to a wick, so the wick is here, so to the wick here if you want, and it still accounts for price, right? And if you want to, you know, do what I do, add horizontal raise at the highest wick. Okay, so if I wanted to do it here and I wanted to readjust this level, I could do it here, so I'm covering more of the body, and then the wick will just be a line just to account for price like that. It's however you want to go about it. Okay, so let's move on to minor zones. Again, minor zones are going to be in between your major zones. So right now you are looking at the 30-minute time frame. I did readjust my zones because they were a little bit too thick. Okay, so now we're going to get into minor zones. You can draw them on the 30, the 15, the 5, whatever you want to draw them on. I love to draw them usually on the 30 and the 15. Okay, minor zones are literally just a fancy way of saying that the zones are not as strong as the higher time frame zones, and because they're not as strong, they are minor. They're going to be, you know, found on the lower time frame. That being said, you go about it the exact same way as you do when you find your higher time frame levels. Okay, so minor zones, same thing, low points for support, high points for resistance. Okay, that being said, have this level, we're gonna grab this dot here. I like this level here. We're gonna draw it as a support zone. Okay, beautiful. What are we gonna do to validate? The same thing that we did on the 4-hour time frame. We're gonna do what? We are just gonna drag it to see if multiple reactions happen. We can clearly see multiple reactions happen. Okay, so we could either draw it here, or we can even draw it closer to current price action. Again, current price action is currently at this resistance level. And basically, if we still want to account for this low point, what can we use, guys? a horizontal ray. Okay, the only reason why I'm not really thinking about price down here yet is because we're currently here. I can already acknowledge that if we end up selling down here, I can, you know, add a level here if I wanted to. Of course, add more levels and zones as price moves along. But right now, I truly want to focus on current price. So I want a zone near where this level is here. So we have a resistance zone and we now have a support zone. If you want to add more zones, you can. This is now the 15-minute time frame. So I did adjust it so that we can account for price tapping here and also tapping here. That being said, we are at resistance zone. So like I said in the beginning, I love to say what? I am selling at resistance until given buy confirmation. And if you watch my, you know, market structure video, we can kind of see if price is going to continue pushing up. Okay. So this is just based off of market structure and support and resistance. So now we're adding the two. So right now we are currently at a resistance zone. We know that higher highs and higher lows are created in a bullish market. We can clearly see that right now. Okay, so let's just mark that just so you guys can see. Boom, 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 boom. We can see that. So if we wanted to, you know, continue pushing up, we could anticipate price to come down here. And if it holds here, you know, and doesn't break this low here and creates a higher low, we can then get in for buys and hit the next resistance level. That could be, you know, this top here, this high here, or even this high here. Okay, beautiful. Okay, price then, you know, pushed up, you know, okay, the next target would be our next resistance zone. Price tap that too, and then if it keeps pushing up, then the next level can be 100% reached. Okay, beautiful. So now let's put everything together. Okay, higher time frame. If we want to draw our zones on the higher time frame, again, you're gonna find a high point and a low point. Support is the low point, resistance is a high point. Okay, I love to look near current price action because it's just so much easier. Okay, that being said, we can count this as a low, we can count this as a low, whatever you guys want to choose. I'm gonna choose this low because it's really close to current price, right? That being said, to validate if this level is strong, what do? Drag it so we look left. We can see multiple touches have occurred at this level. This is a valid zone. Okay, we want to account for price under here. What can I do? I can use a horizontal ray, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to account for these wicks down here, so I'm just going to have a level like this. Beautiful. Okay, we want a resistance point, we want a resistance level. So what do we need? We need a high point. So I'm going to grab my dot again. I see this level here. Again, if you want to use a line chart, you can. You might not tap into your dot because there's no wicks, but you can see beautiful high. There's a high level here, right? That being said, what am I going to do? I'm going to draw a rectangle. I'm going to draw a rectangle. Okay, just to validate it, I'm going to look left, see if it's truly valid. Okay, so let's just move this down here. Okay, oops. Okay, let's move this. Okay, we see a touch here. Okay, beautiful. This is pretty valid. I like this. Okay, awesome. If I don't want it as thick, I can just make it smaller. And if I think it's too small and I'm not accounting for higher prices, what can I do? Use a horizontal array. Horizontal array. Okay, guys? Beautiful. We have our zones. I told you guys I like to have 2 zones max on the 4-hour time frame just because it's easier for me. If you want to add more zones, add more zones. Okay, so you could add a zone here, you could add a zone here, whatever you prefer. Then we do what? We move down time frames to add our minor zones. Our minor zones are usually what? In between our major zones that are found on the higher time frame. We had a zone here, we had a zone here. Remember, this is support, and remember, this is resistance, this is floor, this is ceiling. Ceiling is always higher than floor. Okay, let's go down to what? Let's just say maybe the 30-minute if we wanted to draw our minor zones. Okay, even the 15. But we'll stick to the 30, okay? Whichever time frame you would prefer to use, okay? I already see that my zones are kind of thick. So what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna readjust them. You do not have to keep them the same if you don't like it, okay? It is trial and error sometimes, okay, guys? So I like this, and I like, okay, way more clear. Okay, we're counting for price. If we're counting for levels down here, if price decides to, you know, push lower. And now let's add our minor zones. Okay, so in between our major zones. Okay, so that being said, where can I see price, you know, kind of react off of? I see here, I see here. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna draw it. Okay, so that being said, let's grab another dot. I like this high point here. Okay, I'm gonna validate that this level would be valid by doing what? dragging it left. Beautiful. You can see price tapped into this level, did some type of reaction. And guys, remember, this is a resistance level and this is a support zone, okay? Price broke this support level, and what did it do? Retested it. So this level is now resistance, and this new level here is now your support. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, you can add more zones if you want to, you can drop down time frames if you want to. Okay, it all depends on what you want to do. Once you have your zones there, you can now get confirmations for an entry. Okay, this is not an entries video, but I wanted you guys to kind of see how I go about it from a higher time frame to then a lower time frame, just drawing zones. Okay, if I want more zones, okay, I can literally do the same thing. Okay, and then we're just waiting for reactions, waiting for confirmation to see if price is going to push up or push down to then get in for a buy or a sell. Okay, usually when it's a higher time frame zone. Okay, so this was a higher time frame zone. Because it's a higher time frame zone, we can usually anticipate some type of reaction here. I would be more confident at buying at this level than I would a minor zone, because it's a higher time frame zone and they're usually strong. Okay, that being said, guys, I want to get into if I should buy or sell from this zone versus another zone. So that is usually called a point of interest, POI. Say you have all your zones marked up, okay, and you are now thinking of looking for, let's just say, for buys in this example. You have a POI. POI means point of interest, and it also is your support or even your resistance zone. In this case, both my POIs are support levels because I'm thinking of buying. And I told you guys in the beginning, usually traders like to buy at support. That being said, we want to wait for our reactions. And this is why I touched on, paying attention to how strong the candles are approaching your zone, because if they approach really strong, this POI might not be valid and you might be looking down here for buys. So let's just watch. Okay, we're waiting for, I didn't even mean to press it that fast. Okay, we tapped into the level. Okay, we are still going to make sure price wants to truly buy. And I told you guys in my market structure video, if you didn't watch it, I said this: high points need to be broken if we are truly bullish. That being said, we can look at a high point that price created. If we drop down in the 5-minute, we can probably see it. Okay, we can look for a high point, or we can look for a low point like this. Okay, okay, that being said, this is a low point here. We can wait for a break of structure here to then think about entering for buys if we wanted to confirm that price was actually going to push up. But let's just say price is not breaking this level here. If price isn't breaking this level here and it's not breaking high points, what does that mean? It's going to continue selling down because that is the only other option. That being said, if we keep pushing past this level here, what is the next level we're looking at? We're going to look at our second POI and see if we can get the entry confirmations that we want to then enter in for a buy. Okay, let's just keep on watching price, guys. Okay, we have this huge list wick here, not a break of structure. Remember, breaks of structure are going to be candle body breaks, so more body than wick. We see a lot of wick. So what does that indicate to me? Price isn't done selling yet. So what am I really doing? I'm paying attention to more reactions at this level, but also I'm thinking about this second POI in my head. Okay, let's just watch price. Oh, we got really strong candles pushing. Okay, we see these candles, guys. We see these candles. To me, this is not indication of price wanting to enter price wanting to buy just yet, and because of that, I'm now gonna most likely be looking at my next level. Okay, so I can readjust my high point to see if price is gonna break or if price is gonna keep pushing down. We can see that price is continuing pushing down. Okay, now we have this candle here. Okay, and we're pushing and we're pushing and we're pushing. That being said, guys, this POI here is no longer valid, and this POI is our new POI that we're thinking that we're using to think about entering in for buys. Okay, so we can then wait for price to get into our zone. We can see if maybe a high point is broken. If you're an experienced trader, you might already know price is gonna buy at this level. If you're not, you may need extra confirmations. It just depends on you. That being said, I am pretty confident that price will do some type of reaction here, as far as maybe not all the way up here, but to this zone here for sure, to just do some type of retracement, because it has to retrace. Price always retraces, right? So we can then think about entering for some type of buy, a short-term buy, maybe up until this level here. We can drop down into the 5 minutes so you guys can see price action a little bit more clear. So let's just do that. Okay, so and then we can then, you know, enter in for that buy. So if you have a zone that you want to enter off of, you need to make sure the candles are showing what you want. Okay, you don't want a strong candle approaching your zone, because that next candle could potentially be another strong candle and it could stop you out. So overall, just make sure you're paying attention to the candles and see if, you know, you can then get in for some type of position. That being said, guys, this is the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. If this video helped, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.